Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Today, I want to talk about self care and how you can use microdosing to create a self care plan and why self care is so important. Um, so, before we dive into that, I'll just go over the today's agenda. And today's agenda is all about self care. What is a self care plan? 5 reasons why you would need a self care plan, and also how you can create a self-care plan. So we'll just go over all the exercises. I'm going to lead you through all of it, and don't worry, I got you. Okay. So before we dive into this topic, I think I want you to take a few minutes here. You can pause the video and answer this question. What does self-care mean to you? So make a list of all the things that self-care means to you, and also answer this question: do you have a self-care plan? So I'll let you do that. Take a few minutes. You know, if self-care brings to mind ideas like pampering or a massage or taking a bath bomb or shopping, that's because the true meaning of self-care has kind of been misunderstood and lost in Instagram's hashtags and all the information there. A self-care plan is a set of daily activities we deliberately take part in to improve our inner and outer well-being. Self-care isn't just about pampering or grooming yourself, even though it's a big part of it. It's more about attending to your own needs, emotional, mental, physical, and giving that to yourself. Now, why do we even need a self-care plan? Well, here on this slide, you can very much see that a self-care plan will definitely improve your mental health and well-being. And it will make you feel like you own your life. It will make you feel like you are in charge of your energy and you are not giving up too much of yourself to others. And when you feel like that, you feel empowered, and that gives you a sense, a confidence, right, in yourself. And when you have confidence, you make better choices for taking care of yourself and others. And hence, you're improving not just the relationship you have with yourself, but with the relationship you have with others. And that's a big part of well being and also a big part of your health. Now, another thing that self-care does is helps you manage stress and anxiety better. And again, going back to the previous point, when you care for yourself and you put your needs at the forefront before you give out to everyone else, you feel less stressed and you feel less anxiety, because sometimes anxiety is just feeling overwhelmed of all the expectations others have of you. So pay attention to how what makes you feel anxiety and what makes you feel stressed, and ask yourself, am I not tending to my own needs? Am I prioritizing someone else or something else over what I actually need? This brings me to my third point, which is preventing illness. When we have a healthy mind and healthy boundaries and attend to our emotions, our body tends to feel better. So if you paid attention to my previous talks, citing Andrew Huberman, there is such a tight relationship between mind, body, and our states of being. And so we create a lot of the stress in our body, high levels of cortisol or adrenaline that really puts our body to stress with our mind, with the thoughts we are thinking. So again, going back to how you care for your mind, it's also how you care for your body, and this improves your immunity. Another reason is maximizing productivity. And it's actually very interesting because, we all have these different parts of selves that have different needs, and they're competing for our attention and want to come forth to express ourselves through us. So when you take care of all those parts, you can actually put them to rest, and you can bring your full focus and attention into what you want to do. Example for this is, one part of me is always looking for exciting things and new things, new adventures. So when I sit down and I work really hard for like 4 to 6 hours on a project, that part of me is very becomes very antsy, and there is a lot of energy built, and it just comes in ways in which I want to reach for my phone, or I need to distract myself, or I need to daydream, or whatever it is. So it just pulls me out of my focus. But the way I manage to kind of tend to it is to sit down and work for 4 hours, but also take breaks. And in the breaks, I know that that part needs a bit more attention. So I either dance so I can release the energy that it feels, or talk to it. So in this way, it doesn't compete for my attention anymore. And hence, this other part of me that wants to put so much time and energy and focus into the work that I'm doing, it's undisturbed by this other part of me. So I hope this makes sense. But as I was saying, it maximizes productivity. Another benefit, it just enhances personal relationships. And the way it does that is because when you start paying more attention to yourself and giving that to yourself, you are learning how to communicate with yourself, identify what you need, communicate what you need with yourself, give that to yourself, and then communicate that to others. So from communicating that to others, you start setting healthier boundaries. You start communicating your needs, and you start speaking your truth more, the one that it's been repressed until now. And so when you set healthier boundaries, when you communicate clearly what you need, and you let people know that I can't or cannot do this at the moment, it just improves all relationships. Like, open, honest communication is what improves any relationship. So, self-care is a byproduct of that. I mean, no, the healthy relationships is a byproduct of self-care. All right. Some of the key aspects of self-care we are going to focus on today are physical, mental, emotional, and professional. So self-care nourishes your body, your mind, and your soul. And I want to explore these dimensions with you. On a physical level, the self-care involves making lifestyle choices that help you stay fit, healthy, and energized. And here, there are a few things that you can look after if you want to bring more of that into your life. So exercise, it's a big part of taking care of your physical body. And it doesn't have to be, the exercise that you see on YouTube, on Instagram, everyone are everywhere around, going at the gym and, working with weights. It can be maybe have a dance practice, maybe have a stretch routine in the morning, maybe do some yoga poses when you are taking a break from your work. It doesn't have to be much, but it just tending to what your physical body needs in the moment. Go on nature walks. Have regular checkups with your healthcare providers. Looking at your blood pressure, your blood sugar, and other hormones in your body and all that type of stuff. It's very important. It's good to see where you're at and how different life events change that. This is probably very obvious, but eating a well-balanced and diet rich in nutrients. So basically eating healthy. Quit smoking, drink less alcohol. And Andrew Huberman has a fantastic podcast he released a few days ago on the effects of alcohol that it has on our brain and body. So go check that out. So physical self-care is all about forming healthy habits that enhance your well-being and also letting go of the ones that are not serving you. All right. The next aspect of self-care is mental. So this dimension of self-care is all about looking after your mental well-being. So in other words, it's about taking good care of the thoughts and the feelings you're having. If you start paying attention to your internal dialogue, you get to see whether that is criticizing, whether it's deprecating, whether it's negative. So your inner dialogue and the way you speak to yourself plays such a big role in how you perceive yourself and those around you. Mental health, mental self-care also involves training your mind. And just like as you train your body to be more fit, you can train your mind as well to keep it sharp, to keep it focused, and to keep it, capable of all these cognitive functions that it can do, really. So some of these self-care habits for your mind include things like spending quality time with loved ones, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Taking a break from your phone, engaging in a hobby that you love, practice positive self-talk, and as I said, that's a very important practice that you can have. When it comes to emotional well-being, this focuses more on bringing awareness to our emotional needs by becoming conscious of our feelings. So this awareness allows us to process our feelings in a very healthy way. So focusing on positive emotions and managing the negative ones. So some of the practices that you can include in the emotional self-care are things like meditation, journaling, self-compassion, observing your thoughts without judgment, practicing gratitude, using breath work to regulate your emotions, doing acts of kindness for others. So emotional self-care helps you respond rather than react. And responding means that you created a distance between what happened and what you feel like doing, and that distance will give you perspective as to how to handle this challenge moving forward. And if before you have been reactive to it, and this reaction kept you in this same loops, unhealthy loops, then you can break free from it if you create some distance and you start acting instead of reacting. And last but not least is the professional area. So the professional self-care is, an activity that helps you thrive in the workplace while maintaining a healthy work-life balance. Now, engaging in activities that help you develop professionally and bring a sense of fulfillment, it's very important. And some of the examples here are, using your vacation days, take time for yourself before meetings, learn a new soft skill in, communicating better with your colleagues, work for a company that prioritizes employee wellness, and also work for a company that their values align with yours, so you don't feel that cognitive dissonance and always feel like you are going against what you truly want. And another part of the professional area that is not talked about too much is being a mentor for someone. It doesn't mean that you are better than anyone by any means. It's just you have life experiences, skills that someone else would want, and being a mentor and guiding others through a similar process you've been through and the lessons you've learned, and sharing that with them, it can be very fulfilling, because you're using everything you have went through up until now to be in service of someone else's well-being and development. So that can be very very rewarding. All right, so now I would like to actually do an activity, a few activities actually, because we want to create in the end a self-care plan that fits fits your lifestyle and tends to your needs, right? So we are going to be looking at various steps, and every single step has an activity that I want you to pause the video for and really go through it. And if it takes you a few days to go through that, that's totally okay. It's just thinking deep into what you need. It's very important. So the first thing we are going to look at is your current habits, right? So before we create this self-care plan that I was talking about, observe where you are right now. What strategies do you use to deal with life's demands and challenges? Do you go on a walk to relieve stress? Do you tend to withdraw from your friends and family? Do you have maybe too many glasses of wine at night to unwind after a long and tense day? What do you do right now? And write down an honest inventory of positive and also negative coping strategies that you've developed over the years. So this step will help you identify what are some of the harmful strategies you've been using so far, and later we can use this awareness to kind of let go of the things that don't serve us anymore. The second step in creating this plan is identifying your self-care needs. Now think about what you value most in your day-to-day life, and make a list of all the physical, mental, emotional, professional, and I would want to add also spiritual needs that you have. So divide your journal in 5 areas and write down, make a list for each area of those needs. A good example of a self-care plan is one that considers all areas of well-being. So writing down your needs can be a real eye-opener, and you might discover that you are attending to your emotional needs very well, but you're not attending to your physical needs quite that well. So shifting the focus and paying attention more and knowing what to bring into your life to care more for yourself in what you need in this present moment is very important. All right. Now, the third part of creating this plan is writing down practices that support your needs. So by now you have you have, an inventory of all the coping strategies. You have a list of all the needs that you have. And now it's the time to decide what self-care practices will help you meet those needs. And consider questions like the following. What activities bring me joy? What helps me feel energized? When do I find peace? What makes me feel fulfilled? And what's helped me cope with difficult situations up until now? What are some of those healthier ways in which I help me cope with difficult situations? And now that you have answers to all those questions, I want you to write down the self-care practices that you plan to do daily. And also the ones that you are planning on doing just weekly or monthly or maybe quarterly or once a year. For example, eating healthy is probably better to do it every day as opposed to once a week. But if you, for example, if you want to do a macro journey, that doesn't need to be done every month. It can be done, every 3 months. So you get insight, so you get perspective, so you get new energy. All right. Now this is the tricky part, because as I said, any self-care plan has to be incorporated in your life. So now you'll have to find a way to fit that into your schedule and into your lifestyle. And you need to find pockets of time throughout your busy day to do these practices. And you have to remember that self-care is not selfish, and it's actually a kind of it's an act of kindness to yourself and to others, because you cannot give from an empty cup. You know that saying, right? So another thing to consider is that instead of just like jamming all sorts of activities into your day just to kind of do the self-care routine, maybe just find the moments that can feel challenging throughout your day and do a self-care routine around that, right? And pay attention to your needs, pay attention to how you would cope with that, and give that to yourself, and choose one thing a day. You don't have to change your whole day for it, right? And start with one, and then work your way up into including more practices for yourself. Now, the last part of this plan is to remove any barriers. And that's very important, because whenever we want to do something else and bring something new into our lives, there is always resistance, because up until now we've been in this comfort zone where we know how we act, how we react, how we feel in certain situations. And doing things differently means that it challenges that identity, that knowing of who we are in this bubble, right? So resistance will come up, and it's important to remove the barriers that come up. So paying attention to what those are, and bringing awareness, and doing it consciously will definitely help with you sticking with your self-care plan. And last but not least, I think it's important to look at all the negatives, ways in which you have coped with challenging situations right now, and try and remove those from your day. In my example, when I used to feel overwhelmed, I still do, but one of my strategies before was eating chocolate, right? So the relief of the sugar and the taste was just so soothing for that high energy anxiety that was built up in my body, and it just made my mind racing and my heart feeling like I was, I had ran 1,000 miles, and it just felt good. But the thing is that it wasn't healthy for me, right? And I've noticed that if I move my body, if I dance rapidly on a song that's like very upbeat, it kind of releases that build up energy that creates the anxiety in me. And that is a much healthier self care practice. I'm still tending to my need, I'm reducing that anxiety and the feeling of feeling overwhelmed. And I'm also moving my body and moving the energy. So that's an example of how I switched from one um, unhealthy way of tending to my needs to a healthier one. All right, so I hope by now you have an idea of where you are at right now and what can you bring into your life, the small changes you can make so you can actually create something that it's healthier for you and brings a bit more joy and peace and fulfillment, because the whole point of a self-care plan is um, not to, as I said, it's not a selfish thing, but it is um, something that we all need to do. We need to tend to our needs so we can actually give more. All right, this was it. So I hope you enjoyed this session. As I said, take a few days if that's what you need to go through all the questions, and I'll see you on the next one.